I'll just say this. Thank God we have so many weed sponsors. Hello, and welcome in to the PHNX Suns post-game show, of course presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHNX365 when you sign up and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Eric, and I'm smiling through the pain. Gerald's here, Steven's here, Noah's behind the Mac. Espo, I've never been more jealous of somebody with the flu, is still out sick as the Phoenix Suns lose to the Charlotte Hornets, despite what our corner bug says. We might be wanting to live in a different reality, but they lost. They lost to the Charlotte Hornets, and they lost bad.
That's manifesting for Sunday, that's all.
This really, this might be the lowest point of the season. This really hurt, Gerald.
Yeah, this has to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. This was a pathetic loss. This is a loss that you can't have. And I said it pregame, a win tonight wasn't going to convince me that the Suns had fixed themselves, but at least it was something that you could point to and say, okay, they're not completely lost. They're not completely too far gone yet. And now we're here 48 minutes later, because that is a horrific loss. It's one that you can't have. And I know that, you changing up the lineup, there's going to be a certain number of games you're going to have to work through it, but this is just unacceptable. And when you only have your two best players that show up in a game like this, bigger change is needed. We knew that change was needed. We knew that going into this game, they could have won by 20 tonight, and we still would have said they need change because they're not at a title contender level. But this team is not, they are out of the play-in right now. They're not even in the play. They're 12th in the West right now. And they're only 4.5 games out of a top 5 seed in the West. But I'm sorry, the expectations for this team were so far above what we're seeing. This team looks disjointed, disconnected, doesn't believe in what they're doing out there, and we are seeing a terrible product as a result. This has to be the breaking point to where change of some sort is needed.
The extreme highs, just lower than the floor, lower than the basement lows, the high variance, volatility. Last night, we saw the bench carry the team. Tonight, the bench just did not have it.
Yeah.
Last night, we saw at least 2 of the big 3 didn't have it as well as you hoped for them to, until KD kind of got it going late. And then you flip the roles tonight. They do their thing, those 2, and they don't get much help from anyone else in the scoring department. You get what feels like a somewhat important team win yesterday. Just a feel-good moment to hopefully spark what you hope that the lineup change would do for you. And then you come back 24 hours later against a lesser team, even though, albeit they were healthy compared to the Sixers, and you do that. That's just a microcosm of this team right now. Extreme highs, super low lows, one after another in succession of volatility.
The only reason why last night would have been an important win is if they came out and they won tonight. Yep. Last night means nothing. Flush it. Put it down the toilet. Forget about it. It meant absolutely nothing. Because the only reason that it would mean anything if it was the first small inch of a step towards fixing whatever the hell is going on here. This is unacceptable. This is infuriating. Right? There was one player injured for the Phoenix Suns tonight, and it was Royce O'Neal. This is no longer the big 3 just need to get it together. Oh, they're just so unlucky. Oh, they're just so unhealthy. No, they're unhealthy for us. They're unhealthy for the fans. It's a sickness. I would watch every game if I wasn't up here. I'm going to watch every single game going forward. I'm probably going to watch every single game twice. It's a sickness. This is disgusting basketball. This is a disgusting team right now. I am appalled. I am almost at my breaking point, which it seems like I get almost every single night, but like this feels real because the only last bit of help besides possibly a Jimmy Butler trade, but Jimmy Butler doesn't even solve your biggest problem right now, which is your center rotation, which I think we should talk about next. Next, we will talk about, we have some Jimmy Butler trades that Gerald's cooked up. We're going to do that at the end of the show. I forgot to thank all of you for being here. Thank you for being here with us, whether you're in chat, whether you're listening on audio, whether you had to take a day or two and then listen to this later because you were too mad in the moment. We appreciate all of you tuning into PHNX Suns, and we would appreciate you hitting that like button and trying to switch up the juju. This team is so sickening. And the most sickening part is the center rotation. It's not hyperbole. It's a fact, Gerald. This is the worst center rotation in the league.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of one that would be worse. It's definitely the worst in the West, if you look at the Western Conference, at the very least. Man, it's tough. Mason Plumlee being a plus 15 tonight is the most misleading stat I think I've seen in a while. He had a very Mason Plumlee stat line, 0 points, 13 rebounds, 0 of 1. He shot one shot. You cannot have your starting center take one shot and not provide any ounce of a rim threat as a rim roller, because like Mason and Nurk both set good screens, but the fact that neither one of them is a threat as soon as they catch the ball anywhere near the paint is a problem. The fact that defenses don't feel the need to sell out and stop them because they have no gravity is a problem. It hurts your spacing. And so as much as I understand trying something different with going with Mason over Nurk, it hasn't worked. And then you sub Nurk in, and the team closes the half on like a 20-6 run or whatever it was. As soon as Nurk comes in that second quarter, that's the run that basically cost them the game. And then you only play Oso Ighodaro 6 minutes after we just talked last night. We wondered what the center rotation might look like tonight against a bigger Charlotte Hornets back line. We were hoping we would see some Oso, and I think to some degree he would have struggled with this matchup too, with the size that Charlotte has, the activity of Mark Williams and Nick Richards. But you've got to try something different because Nurk was terrible. Mason, I'm sorry, plus 15. I can't read into that at all. And it's a really rough center rotation right now. And I feel like if you change that up maybe earlier or heading into the season, you'd be looking at a very different result. But at this point, with the way that this team is spiraling, even fixing the center rotation, to me, I don't know if that how many ripple effects that actually has.
Yeah, I think y'all are making good points with the the center group in particular. You look at any other team that is deemed to be contending, and that's a position where they're dictating in some capacity. You have your Embiids and your Jokic type players that are dictating all around. You have your Steven Adams type role-playing bigs that are dictating with physicality and being a presence on the glass and mixing in some rim running and some little things on the margins, making a backdoor pass here and there, good screen setting. What's the consistent impact that this Suns center position, particularly with Nurkic and Plumlee, are having an impact on the game with, in a positive way at least?
They sometimes set good screens, and they can rebound. I wouldn't say they're dominant rebounders, but they can rebound. And
it's I'm not gonna say it's fool's gold, but it doesn't hit the same when you're good at setting screens to create the advantage for the ball handler to turn the corner, engage your man, and get downhill. And then you roll into that advantage, making it a 2-on-1, and you can't finish. Because it's like, okay, well, if we just went in isolation, though, we just got two to the ball somehow and just settled for catch and shoot threes all game, the chances of those shots going in versus us missing a layup and then us then in turn being behind schedule in transition defense without our biggest player who's not that big, but just not having that piece and to being 5-on-4 or 4-on-3 or whatever it is in transition after missed layup, after like it just gets tough and it becomes compounding.
Yeah, and Gerald, to your point of like, you don't even know if fixing the center position would fix this team. I don't think a singular move, whether it's trading for Jimmy Butler or getting, I don't know, a player like Nick Richards
maybe
on this team. But I think it does drastically change. Like if it doesn't quote unquote fix them, make them a top 4 team in the West, 50, 60 win team, it would make them, I think, a playoff or high play-in team.
You have
Just to have something, right? Like, I know we joke about Nick Richards. He's not the best center in the league. He's the backup center on a team that just won their 8th game.
Yeah.
And I'm not even kidding when I say he would fundamentally change who the Phoenix Suns are by being on this roster.
Yeah.
By being like literally the most basic archetype for what a center could be in the NBA, which is be athletic, rim run, and set screens. He would change everything for this team. He would change the dynamic of every single pick and roll. He would change the gravity when it came to your stars. He would unlock Tyus Jones as a lob threat and as a floater threat as well, because you wouldn't know which way to go. You can see how disheartening it is for players like Book, like KD, like Beal, like Tyus, to look down low, see a 7-footer basically wide open, and to not even hit the rim or to pump fake a shot when a 6'4" player is coming to close out on you.
Let me tell you, there were 3 plays that stood out to me, all involving centers in this game. There was the one that you're referring to that Mason Plumlee caught the ball under the rim. A guy was recovering. He pump faked, should have just gone up, and it was his one shot of the night. He put it off the backboard with full force. That one was rough. The other one was the Nick Richards block on a Tyus floater, like at the peak. That is the type of athleticism and shot blocking that the Suns currently do not have at all. And the other one was when Devin Booker was running a pick and roll with Nurk, and he threw the ball, a lob that was perfectly to the rim, placed for Nurk, but it's not a play that Nurk can make above the rim. So he kind of grabbed it, the defender recovered, and he had to kick it out. And it was like, oh wow, a rim running alley-oop finishing big, that's 2 points, right in that exact play setting. So I think this just hammered home the point that we've been harping on since the offseason, but especially over these last few weeks. You have to get more athleticism, more rim running at the center spot. And Nick Richards, I mean, I'm not trying to be obnoxious, because I've been pushing the Nick Richards button since last year in terms of this guy could come in and help, maybe not even as a starter, but just as a backup. We're at the point where he would definitively be your best center. And I would love to see them trade for him, because he feels like the most gettable starting caliber center that you're going to be able to find on the trade market.
And I'll say Mark Williams is a really good young center, young prospect.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main reason why he's not starting in Charlotte.
Right.
So I don't want he's a backup on a team that's not good, that doesn't really have a direction to bring down his value.
I do, so we can trade
But
for
I'm
trade him for less.
I'm speaking not from a GM's perspective,
I
but
get what
from
you're
just someone that might not know that much about Nick Richards until they saw how loud he was on the box score tonight.
Sure.
I'm not saying he's going to replicate that exact same type of impact on the box score and over the course of the game if he was in the Suns uniform, but I would say that he would have a lot of opportunity, because nothing he did was anything that was outside of his typical game script.
Right.
He just came in, brought grit, brought effort, brought athleticism, brought energy, and he had the Hornets around him actually were playing well tonight on top of all of that, which made his play just accentuate everything that was already going on. You bring that around a team like the Suns that needs a spark from the center room in particular, and not as extreme as you were saying, but somewhat to your point, that's enough to shift your context, just enough to turn the tides. If you bring that in tandem with them adding at least one other wing, if not 2 other wings, to this group.
If they get Jimmy Butler and they get Nick Richards, I'm back. I'm back.
I think that's fair.
Best team in the NBA.
I'm not going that far, because they still have things, like I've continued to say, external of any additions that have to be changed for this team to get back into a winning place. It's unfair to Nick Richards or Jimmy Butler to expect for them to just come in and swap for whatever players that get them in return and expect for things to just be night and day.
You talk about like the vibes, like
it's
the chemistry.
Not even just like vibes and chemistry, the day-to-day. Like they're skipping steps in the process, and it's clear about the volatile results we're getting on a day-by-day basis.
Do you feel like, and this isn't me trying to excuse it from them, because I think that you are right, and that they are clearly not approaching the game in the right way, or else they would have won tonight. They could have won tonight. They were up tonight. But do you feel like maybe this roster at the top feels how hopeless things are, and getting a Jimmy Butler, who is a vocal leader as well, and then getting a center for the first time in a couple of years that can rim run and that you can look at and just say, that is our consistent guy down low. Could that unlock that part of them that they have not been tapping into? Because I think it could. I don't think that that's like a benefit to them. And I'm not saying that as like a, yay, good for them. They could tap into it. It's bad they're not doing it now, but I could see them changing that if there was a change of personnel.
I think the outlet to them changing and being better is there. I think that's rather obvious. You just swapping in better players. But there's still weaknesses with the team. You still have the turnover issue that will persist because the players that have the ball in their hands just don't have it at times, or for whatever reason, or sometimes it's the attention or volume that they see. Three-point shooting has been very up and down for the team. The defense continues to be something. You bring Jimmy Butler and Nick Richards in, that helps address it at their particular positions, but there's still going to have to be 3 other players that are on the court that are bringing what they need to consistently for this team. So that's why I'm just going to keep saying, like, you make additions to help, but the changes have to come internally for this team to get back to that space that they were in when they started the season 8-2.
We're going to keep talking about just a complete disappointment of a game. We're going to give out a big, bright, shining star. We're going to give out an X Factor. We're going to do by the numbers. We're going to give you Jimmy Butler trades. We're going to do all of that right after this break. If you're around for the cold open, I told you I was thankful. Thankful we have so many weed sponsors. That is our new partner, Pure Edibles, founded in Arizona and available in 130 dispensaries statewide. Also can be found on my person when I get home tonight because I'm taking one. But the best part about these is that they don't just say indica sativa hybrid. They tell you quite literally what the effect's going to be. There's a bliss one, which is their founder's favorite. There's an uplift one. There's a sleep one. There's a relax one. It tells you exactly what you want.
Suns fans need all of those.
Yeah, you need all of that. You need to be uplifting. You need to relax. You need to do all of that. And you can do it with Pure Edibles. And what's really cool is they have these things called the Kicks, which basically emulate a Starburst. Like, taste exactly like it. They taste delicious. They look amazing. And you can go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries in Arizona. Also, once you get your pure edibles and you're on your way home and you want a couple of snacks, stop at Circle K. I've been dominating, just absolutely destroying the peanut butter pretzels from Circle K. I think I've eaten about 80% of the bags we've had in this office. There are 2 left. I'm claiming one of those because they're delicious. Circle K is your best spot to get snacks, drinks, and great deals on those plus gas. And you could save money by joining the Inner Circle for free just by downloading the Circle K app, putting in your phone number and email. And by the time that this ad read is over, you could be a member of the Inner Circle. Save 25 cents off per gallon for your first 5 fill-ups. After that, save 3 cents off per gallon every day and eventually get bumped up to 5 cents off per gallon every single day, every single fill-up. And of course, there's a member exclusive beverage deal. If you are in the Inner Circle, you can get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents. Join the Inner Circle for free. Download the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. We'll get to your super chats here in a minute, but I think we start handing out awards for tonight because tonight was so award worthy, was it not? Let's start with PHNX Factor, and that is...
X gon' give it to you.
Oh, would you look at that?
It's Nick Richards.
Steven, Nick Richards, the PHNX Factor tonight. Future Phoenix Sun?
We would like to call this, like we said with the false box score at the top of the show, manifesting.
Manifesting.
This is called manifesting.
Get him on the plane.
Get him on the plane. Bribe him with like a warm-up. Do what you got to do to get that man in your room to help start the shift of things. It won't just be him like I just got done speaking to, but the way that he played tonight was very, very loud. And to the point that I was making either last night or the day before that, the last time we recorded, defender or opposing teams just don't feel the Suns center group defensively. Mm-hmm. And the closest they get to that is when Oso is able to switch out on the perimeter and keep them from turning the corner, forcing them into late shot clock attempts where he's able to get up solid contests and then doing that again and again. That's the most that the Suns center group has ever felt, unless they go with small ball, and it's Kevin Durant that's replicating a lot of what Oso is doing in these scenarios that I'm speaking to. What Nick Richards brought into the game when he came in, which Mark Williams was not playing bad, before him, but he just came in and he just brought a different energy, a different motor, a different feel. And he looked like he should have been the one that was starting for the Charlotte Hornets pretty much the entire night. And the box score indicates that past just the plus or minus.
Gerald, what would you give up for Nick Richards right now in the current situation that they're in?
Probably 2 seconds.
Just that. Would you give up Josh Okogie?
You only have 3.
Would you give up Josh Okogie
Yes.
and a second-round pick?
Yes.
2 second-round picks?
Yes.
3 second-round picks?
That's where I might draw the line, just because at a certain point you have to understand that Nick Richards, as much as he will help, if you're giving up all 3 of your remaining second-round picks, it has to be a move that you feel moves the needle on this season. I'm not quite there, but I would understand why people say, what the hell, throw in a 3rd, second-round pick, because we're at the point now where you need to upgrade that center spot. And Nick Richards, I mean, the Hornets' backup center, whatever you want to call him, had the 3rd most points if he would have played for the Suns tonight.
Yeah.
He had more than everybody except for Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And he did it pretty easily. He got to the free throw line. He cleaned up around the rim. He was active on the boards, 15, 12, and 3 blocks. Like, the Suns would love that from their starting center, let alone dare to dream that they could have that from their backup center. So especially if you're not going to play Oso Ighodaro more than 6 minutes, like, I'm going to continue to look at this guy like, please make a move for this man.
I don't know how you can watch the Phoenix Suns right now and ice out Oso Ighodaro of all people. Like, that was infuriating to me. And I don't think Mike Budenholzer is empty of blame here. We talk about the culture, the team not being together. He obviously made a big move about putting Bradley Beal, Yusuf Nurkic to the bench, but his rotations were different tonight. There is something to be said. Like, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I know that this is coach number 3 now that the Suns are on when it comes to some of this current iteration of this group, or at least with Devin Booker in the last couple of years. Mike Budenholzer has not been doing what we expected Mike Budenholzer to do. There does not seem to be a culture. Their 3-point offensive identity has completely died by the wayside as this team has died. And it doesn't feel like in-game he's making the proper adjustments. You put Yusuf Nurkic in, Charlotte goes on a run. You don't even call a timeout. You just let them cook, and then that was the end of the game. From that point on, the Charlotte had control in the second half, 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, boom. Charlotte was in control the whole time. You ice out Oso Ighodaro. It took you this long to play Ryan Dunn, and to start him, it would take a drastic decision, right? I think Mike Budenholzer is staring down the barrel of a lot of blame that isn't coming his way solely because it is his first year.
There's a lot of things with. I don't want to put it specifically on him because I don't know the specific roles of every coach on a day-to-day basis.
But if you're the head coach in general, you take that type of stuff.
That's what I'm getting at. But because it's his group, he assembled the group. It was his handpicking. They didn't pick it for him. He picked these people, these delegates. It has to come back to him. Somebody's got to be accountable before anybody else, and it starts with him. They haven't felt like they've been prepared in multiple stretches for me. And it's not just coming into the game, but coming out of halftimes. We've talked about the 3rd quarters for how long. And coming into today, I think K-Ray said they lost the last 5 first quarters before tonight's game. So not only are you behind the 8 ball in terms of setting a tone, which in most of these games you've had the clear-cut most talent, but you're also coming out of halftime not prepared on top of all of those things. In addition to that, like I said in the opening for pregame, I haven't liked where the offense has been for multiple reasons. If we broke it down, this would probably be like a 2-hour podcast. But they've lost the plot offensively. And it comes when teams meet them with resistance in some capacity. If you get away with one thing and then they say, okay, you're going to have to go to something else, and they try to go to other things, it's probably 1 or 2 things. It's Durant mid-post touches after he screens, and they might try to get Devin Booker on a little bit of movement. Outside of that, where's the nuance? You have all of these chess pieces from your big 3 to all of the players in the middle third of your roster, from Grayson Allen to players like Ryan Dunn. They can do other things on offense outside of just scoring the ball. Like, where are you unpacking things and layering your process to where you're unpredictable? He's always talked about playing random. Everything's felt very predictable, which is the opposite side of the spectrum from that. And that's just offense. I'm not even speaking to the defensive side yet.
Right. And the sad part is we've seen this type of disconnect before. And I wish that I was wrong on this because we're only at the start of January, but we have seen the vibes feel like this before. And people are going to say, well, they changed the coach. It can't be the coach again. The coach can still be a part of the problem if the players aren't responding to it. And the inclination is going to be to blame the players. And I think they absolutely share their weight of the blame. But this feels like a situation where there is a lack of belief in what system they're trying to execute, what principles they're trying to abide by on both ends of the court, like what they're trying to run offensively. To your point, Steven, it feels like this group is disjointed again. And it's tiring to watch as a fan, whether there's no organization, there's no identity. It feels like they're going out there and playing pickup 2 games in a row against bad teams. And you beat one that was shorthanded and you lost to a 7-win team that was terrible coming into the night. So I genuinely don't know what to make of it, because coming in, Bud was pitched as this guy who's very on his P's and Q's about attention to detail, about, getting this team to shoot threes again, about holding players accountable and all this stuff. It doesn't feel like we're seeing any of that right now. And I'm not trying to blame Budenholzer alone, because like I said, everyone involved has to own their share of what we're seeing right now. But the coaching change hasn't made a difference. And that's really, really disappointing, because we've still got a lot of games to go this season. And it already feels like we're at a breaking point. You chose a hell of a day to wear that shirt. I really did. I kind of need to be more selective and not just pull shirts off the hanger. This is a tough look
for
right
our audio listeners too. I love our audio listeners so much. I really do appreciate you guys. I'm usually an audio guy myself when it comes to shows, so I love you audio listeners. Gerald is wearing a PHNX Suns "It's Always Sunny in Phoenix" shirt. It's not.
It's not.
It is not.
It wasn't even sunny outside today either. It was overcast. So.
This is you manifest. We're trying to manifest this, right? We're trying to manifest this. Let's get to a couple of your super chats before we hit our second break here. If you want your comment read on screen, go ahead and drop a super chat. Any price will do. We appreciate every single one of you, and make sure that y'all hit that like button as well. Over 500 of you in here, only 55 likes. I know you can do better than that. Jackson with a $5 super chat says, Jimmy wants joyous basketball. He ain't gonna find it here.
Nah, Jimmy wants to get paid.
That's where the joy
comes from. Also, obviously, he wants to win, and he sees avenues to winning with this team. But you don't get to the winning without being in a situation that's going to facilitate to you financially, which is the reason why you're in this rut with Miami in the first place. By all accounts. So
if the Heat had paid him, they have a better record than the Suns right now. This wouldn't be happening.
Nope.
Exactly.
Makai with a $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Makai. Says CBA closed the door on 90% of moves. Suns cooked. Sad face.
CJ McCollum and Grant Williams are public enemy number 1 and number 2 right now. I know that you all have your own individual rankings. That's fine, but that's where mine stands, because holy hell did they make this that much more difficult. The moment the Suns got an owner who's willing to spend and wants to be aggressive and trying to put a winning team together, that's brutal.
It's the most Phoenix Suns thing of all time.
It really is.
Like, genuinely, the most Arizona sports Phoenix Suns thing of all time is to go from a cheap, terrible owner to this new owner with new, renewed passion and energy and, my God, the deepest pockets you've ever seen. And the NBA is like, what if we made spending money illegal?
What if we made it bad?
I hate you, CJ.
He just dropped 50 the other night.
I hate you, CJ. Trey Collins, 199 super chat. Thank you, Trey. Says, team has no offensive plays, just KD ISO, pitiful. That's what you were speaking to, Steven. It's not like they're just failing the process. They're failing to have a process.
And it's not even that they, like, I get what you're saying, Trey. We appreciate the super chat. It's not even that they don't have it. I've documented a whole lot of when they do X, Y, and Z, the result is literally A or B, and both the A and B are positive for the team. They do it for a quarter. They do it for a half sometimes 2.5 quarters. And then for a solid stretch, which either puts them further behind the 8 ball or has a lead that they once had be usurped by the opposing team. And then it just diminishes and it just evaporates. And we've been in that stretch for watching them the past week or so now, week and a half.
With what you're saying, I'm led to believe that this is an inconsistent team.
Volatile.
This is playing random parentheses derogatory. That's
good. That's good.
Not
Teddy,
complimentary.
Teddy with a $49.99 super chat.
Wow.
Teddy really feels this.
Thanks,
we appreciate you, Teddy.
Teddy also, a.k.a. Matt Ishbia in the super chat.
Deep pockets. They need to trade Beal. Not like there's some magic trade to save the season, but to fix the future. Any deal that gets them under the first apron. Trading Beal's not getting you under the first apron. Cut his minutes so he gets mad enough that he okays any trade. Sounds harsh, but necessary IMO. I totally understand where you're coming from, Teddy. We appreciate the $49.99 super chat. I'm of the belief that they should try to trade Beal. It's just, who are you going to get to exchange that? And the reality is there's no way this team is getting under the first apron.
Yeah, they're 34, 35 million away from the second apron right now. So trading Beal, you would have to be taking back like 14 mil just to get under the second apron.
Right.
So first apron's out. Second apron, honestly, is out. You'd have to, like in a Jimmy Butler trade, you'd have to find a way to send out 80 million in different subsequent moves. Like, it's just not happening. But
I would like to. I love where your head's at.
But
no, definitely 100%.
we will be getting into that both later on the show in terms of some 3-team Jimmy Butler trades. And then also tomorrow at GoPHNX.com, I'm going to be writing about it. More trades than we're going to cover here tonight. Tonight is just the teaser. But don't worry, we will get to those.
Jackson with a $5 super chat. Another one. Thank you, Jackson. You've been very consistent with the super chats lately. We do appreciate you being in here, as Steven would say, on consistency. AZ has some terrible sports teams. Tell me about it, man. With terrible seasons. Yep. The Suns might just be at the top of that list. This is bad.
I mean, in regard to expectations, I couldn't disagree with that at all.
Highest payroll in the league, not even in the play-in. Over half the NBA teams make the playoffs. They're not even in the play-in.
Yeah. Where would we be without ASU football right now?
I would probably be, you wouldn't be able to contact me. You wouldn't be able to contact me.
Do not disturb.
Cam Scadaboo would fix all of this. And I feel that. Beetlejuice with a $1.99 super chat. This is a great one.
I was crying and laughing at this one.
Can't wipe my tears when I'm holding two $2 glizzies. Matt Ishbia saw the collapse that was imminent and said, I'll at least make it a little cheaper to come to the games. Aaron, the Phoenix Rising with a $1.99 super chat says, do you get more views when we win or we lose?
When we win.
When we win.
Yeah.
But it's okay because we still have all of you here, and that's all that matters to us. Win or loss, brother, we'll be here.
Pull up.
Sith Lord to the chat. Sith Lord with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you. Says, how is all the off-ball contact on KD legal?
I don't want to say the script is out because that's not the right way to say it, but the scouting report is you have to hold Kevin Durant because if you let him move freely, he's going to absolutely torch you. He's going to get to his spots. So you have to play physical with a certain level of physicality. Yep. And I think because refs have seen that for so many years now, the barometer for where we're going to call a foul versus where we aren't is probably higher than it should be, honestly. That it's just kind of is what it is. He's used to it by now. He's said himself, like, I understand they had, like, you have to be physical with me. Otherwise I'm going to get to my spots. So teams know that. They're going to continue to do that. You just hope that they're going to be able to call that a little bit more. But on the list of reasons why tonight happened, you know, that's probably number 287.
Oh, there is 287 reasons.
I'll keep this one kind of brief. Spoke with Tyus Jones earlier this season about them in pressure counters because teams obviously know Kevin Durant, Devin Booker are coming off pin downs and leading into all different type of actions. So teams are going to try to take that movement away from them in some capacity. He spoke to me and he said a lot of it, like some of it they talk about in film, but a lot of it is in-game conversations and them just playing and read and react. I see that we have a pin down for you here, but because the big is setting the screen for you off ball in this corner, that means that there's no one left in the paint. So if you're able to backdoor and I'm at a positive angle to make that pass, it's just read and react off of eye contact and often off of conversations had over the course of games. And that goes to the point of just the preparedness and the connectivity that Eric was speaking to is lacking. We saw it yesterday with the Philadelphia 76ers. They come out of a timeout and they're trying to get Kevin Durant off of staggers from a Devin Booker post-up. And he's top locked, I think it was by Kelly Oubre. So he just backdoors, but because the screens are all at the top side of the court, there's no help underneath the basket. So the angle is there. Devin Booker hits him. He gets a layup, and it's an and-one. I think it was in the third quarter. And that's an example of a pressure counter. Now, they don't go to those enough, and some of that is just by them, but also I feel like it's a preparedness dynamic that's just non-existent right now.
You mentioned Devin Booker. We're going to get into Book because he did have a great game after having a terrible game. Great bounce back from Book. We still have so much more on this program, including Jimmy Butler talk and maybe some laughs to be shared if we are so brave to do that. But in order to get there, we must go through this next break. Hey, well, remember when I mentioned all those weed sponsors? Oh, well, our friends at Colt Cannabis, it is a special week for our friends over at Colt Cannabis. You see this right here? This is called a Smalls pouch, but it's anything but small. From Thursday to Sunday at any True Leaf location, you can get 14 grams. I know that y'all don't do this stuff, but 14 grams for $80 is a psycho deal. Genuinely have no idea how you can get flour that, like, this is not no bottom shelf flour. This is 35.63% THC, which is a lot. You can get 14 grams, half of an ounce, for $80 from Thursday to Sunday at any True Leaf location. That is how you get some premium flour here in the state of Arizona. And if you go, make sure you tell them that Eric Ruby sent you. They'll know exactly what that means. They will kick you out. And also want to thank you to our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, because truly no one does it better. They're like the opposite of the Phoenix Suns. They're consistent. You know exactly when you're showing up to Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, V Cueva, and Santan Mountain. You know you're going to get the best experience in the valley, no off nights or anything. 4,500 slots and live table games. A 3A 4-diamond resort that you can either just take a night out to, maybe you need a night away with your family, maybe you need a night away from your family. You can do all of that over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. And of course, we will be hosting events there all year. We had a college football playoff quarterfinal watch party. RIP Sun Devils, we hate the Longhorns. We'll have Suns watch parties, PHNX Live. We had a Q&A with Archie Bradley there. So many different fun things happening, but there's just one rule. You better listen. You do you. At Gila River Resorts and Casinos, visit playatgila.com for details. Appreciate Cassandra, Michael, Angel, Wow Factor, Driving and Delivery, King Nacho, of course, Chai Sun, Warren W, Lucas, all of you in here, new, old viewers, friends, new friends. We appreciate all of you in here right now. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you come back. Even when the Suns suck, even if the Suns aren't back, we come back. Pre-game, post-game show for every single Phoenix Suns games, plus some 3 p.m. live shows mixed in there as well. Speaking of Gila River Resorts and Casinos, it is time to get to our big, bright, shining star. Presented by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
I am a big, bright, shining star.
Gerald, no surprise, Devin Booker. The big, bright, shining star after a night where he was so dim. He shined so bright.
Yeah, last night was rough. It was good to see him bounce back. He was getting to his spots, especially in the mid-range. He had one of those high-scoring first quarters that we know Book is capable of having, but haven't seen as much lately. 39 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds, 14 of 25 shooting. Only shot 2 of 8 from 3. So again, that continues to be an area of struggle for him, but beyond the 3-point line, but got to the line 9 times, made 9 of them. And he and KD were kind of the only two that were able to do anything tonight. So it was good to see him bounce back. The one thing I will say, guys, because the chat's cracking me up, why do we have to pit everything that Booker does or KD does against the other one? We've got to stop. Like, Kevin Durant has been by far the best player on the Suns this season, and Devin Booker hasn't been as good as he needs to be. But we've got to stop doing that. I was getting tweets in the first quarter that Devin Booker was ruining Kevin Durant's night because he was taking too many shots while Book was cooking in the first quarter. Like, what the hell are we doing here, guys? If you're a Suns fan, even if you're just a KD fan or just a Book fan, your success for your guy is contingent on the other one also being good. So stop pitting them against each other, because it's so obnoxious and it's so overdone and it's so tiring and it's just pointless also. Like, just stop.
It's called coping, Gerald. Coping, because somebody
so
has to be
stupid.
to blame, Steven. But we've seen both of these guys compete at the highest level and hit the highest level with each other at the same time. So let's not entertain that argument. Let's talk specifically about Book tonight. 39 minutes, 14 and 25 from the field, 9 and 9 from the free throw line, 39 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds in there as well. Only 2 personal fouls, a plus on the plus minus tonight, the most important stat. Stevie, you said something interesting while we were watching the game, that even during the slump, Book still took his shots. which made you more confident that a night like tonight was going to come eventually?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, even if it wasn't 39, even if it was just a 25 on an efficient 16 or 14 shots, it was, the shot selection. He was taking his shots. It never felt like he was sent off script and he was taking shots that a defense wanted him to take. He was still taking the same shots. The ball just wasn't dropping. That was it for me. I know it's make or miss league, whatever, but I think there's consistency to a shot profile that when you see that it works for someone, if they're still taking those same shots and they're just missing, or if it happens to be good defense for a night, you chalk it up to that, and you expect for them to stay streamlined with that, and we saw him do that tonight. The ball was falling early, 14 points on, I think, 8 or 9 shots in the first quarter, and he set a tone for this team that has not been set in the 5 games that preceded it.
The only positive that you could take from tonight is that this happened for Book, and he looked good. He looked smooth. And I would really appreciate it if we could stop having this conversation as if it's a surprise, right? Because the way that Devin Booker's played, we dove into it. We ripped him apart last night. You know, there are people in the chat saying, you ripped Booker apart, now rip KD. It's like, I'm not going to rip KD apart. It wasn't KD's best game. 8 of 18 from the field.
Right,
We've seen him be better.
Way, no.
Right, like he walks into 26 points. He could have been better tonight. But with Booker, if he doesn't start stringing together these games, like, at this point, it's not even about winning for me. Like, it's genuinely not. It's about a decade long of standing on business when it comes to Devin Booker. Standing like back in Game of Thrones where they had the guy who was standing with the sword and just the whole army coming at him. Like, that's what Phoenix Suns fans were when this team sucked and Devin Booker was that dude. And then we saw him rise. We saw the team get better, him go on a national stage, the doubters kind of starting to believe, oh, is he the best shooting guard in the league? First team All-NBA, whatever. And now it's year 10, right? Year 10, you're like, this is the step for Book. And now you got people in here saying, trade Book, bench Book, Book's not good on the Suns, Book sucks. And like, you're entitled to your opinion, and the way he's played this season is the only thing allowing that opinion to be voiced without getting absolutely dunked on. So like, if that's your thoughts and you've been holding on to that, the way he's been playing this season is your first invitation to say something in years. Like, this isn't even about beating the Charlotte Hornets tonight. It's about our guy. Like, I'm sorry, Devin Booker's our guy. It's why he's not going to get benched. He's a great player. I think he could be the best shooting guard in the league, even if he hasn't played like it so far this year. I need him to get back in that space to just remind the world and tell them to shut the F up when it comes to talking about this dude and saying that he's trash and he sucks and all of that. I'm done with it, man. I'm done. I'm over it. He's a very good basketball player. He's always been a very good basketball player, but he's had a rough season. Like, I've never doubted, and I know these two guys up here as well, have never doubted Devin Booker. I get that some of you will. I can't change that, but you'll never get to me. You'll never catch me doubting that man.
Yeah, absolutely. And January, historically, if you look at his career, is usually one of his best months of the season. So hopefully we're about to see him turn it on a little bit. But right now, again, it's hard to care about any of that because I agree with you. Like, it would be good to see Book turn it around regardless of results, but we need to see it in wins. We need to see this team get back on track. And the best way to do that is for Devin Booker to play well, for Kevin Durant to play well, and for the rest of these guys to follow suit. I felt like they both had good games tonight. They just had zero help beyond those guys, and that can't happen against the Charlotte Hornets. So it goes, for me, like, Book sucked last night. He hasn't been up to his normal standards this season, but he bounced back tonight and it didn't make a difference. So for me, there are so many problems with this team right now. Like I said, we're playing like Wheel of Fortune with this, or like where we're just spinning a wheel and every night it's some new problem that's the biggest problem.
We are going to get to Jimmy Butler trades. So before that, let's do By the Numbers, presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes.
What's in the box?
I don't like the first place we're gonna go ahead and start is at the bottom and look at the offensive rebounds and the total rebound numbers and how that relates to the second chance points and ultimately what the score in the game was. The margins are very important for this Suns team. That's something that you've heard me say when they've won and when they've lost, and this was no different. They were decent with turnovers tonight, but you just cannot lose on the glass to these extents and allow for a team to not even just dictate, but punish you in one specific margin that's how important they are for any team when it comes to winning a singular game. You do what you need to at your strength better than someone else, or if it's a direct weakness that your strength aligns with, which to Gerald's point he spoke to in pregame, to watch out for the offensive rebounds and the second chance opportunities. That was one of the many fatal things for this team, but the loudest on the box score.
This makes me so angry.
17 differential on the rebounds and 12 on the offensive. They gave up 20 offensive rebounds. That's crazy. And they shot 14 fewer threes. We talked pregame about the Hornets get up about 42 a night. And they shot
a worse percentage from three. The Suns 8 of 33 for 24.2%. Charlotte 27.7% from the field. But they took 47 of them. Like Charlotte played like they were the better team.
Math.
They played like they were in control. They have an identity. And they just won their 8th game.
Gerald, what was the numbers for the Hornets in 3-point shooting? Just on volume.
They were 3rd in attempts and I think 22nd in 3-point percentage. So they won the math battle. You get up enough attempts, it doesn't matter what percentage you shoot because the base numbers, they outscored them by 15 from the 3-point line. They won by 11 overall in the game tonight. It's going to do it.
I'm not mentioning the hand, chat.
Talk to the hand.
Okay. Not doing it.
Talk to the hand.
What we are going to do is discuss potential Jimmy Butler trades. Gerald's been cooking because he knows that y'all are hungry. Plus, we have another super chat right on the other side of our final break. Shocker, tonight I didn't hit my bet, but you know what? It's okay because I had a good time placing with our friends over at Bet365. The user interface on their app is so smooth, and it's no surprise that they have 90 million users worldwide. And right now, if you're not one of the 90 million, well, it's the best time to get in because new customers can use code PHNX365 to sign up, deposit $10, place a bet of $5 or more, and you get $150 in bonus bets. So why don't you just go and bet money line against every other team that's playing the Phoenix Suns this year, and you might end up a millionaire. It's possible. Over at Bet365. This is not financial advice. The best part is that you get that 150 in bonus bets, and it's just like playing with free money, house money, which the Suns are not playing with this season. Download the Bet365 app, use code PHNX365 when you sign up, place a bet of $5 or more and get 150 in bonus bets. Find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in AZ. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT-STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. If you cut me open, I bleed Desert Financial Credit Union. It's literally in my blood through generations. You two laugh.
It's a wild
I'm
statement.
being dead serious right now.
I know.
In my family for generations, okay, grandparents, parents, and myself all used Desert Financial Credit Union since before it was called Desert Financial Credit Union. Why? Because they're trustworthy and they've been around for more than 84 years. They're committed to their members and their community, finding financial solutions tailored to real people. I'm a real person. And they help me. I can attest to that. And the best part about it all, I'm burying the lead as I always do. They want to give you 200 bones for free. $200 when you open up a free checking account online. Get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. I love you, chat. You guys are so funny.
They're going off.
You guys are so funny.
They locked in tonight.
Let's read a super chat before we get to Jimmy Butler trades. Another one from Teddy. Thank you, Teddy. Says, for clarity, as a UK alum, Kentucky alum, and a KD fan, the trade was a dream come true. Now it's a nightmare. Yeah. Well, I loved KD. I before he got here, he was in a top 10 player, arguing top 5 player of all time for me personally. Of course, that skews to who I've watched, and I'm a massive Devin Booker fan. I love you, Chad. This was a dream. Like having Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on our team, I'm just done.
It was a dream.
I'm done.
No, I got to hand it to you. You're right.
So, Gerald, you wrote about Jimmy Butler, huh?
It's brutal, man. No, but you're right. Like it is unfortunate because this is we saw it in the playoffs their first year together. Like even though they lost to the Nuggets in that series and that last couple of games were brutal. Like we saw damn, they turned Eric into Kenny from South Park. We're in dire straits. That's actually pretty good. But yeah, I don't understand how we're at this point. A team with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker should be so much better. no matter
I
how you
hate
feel
you,
about
Espo.
Bradley Beal.
I'm so sorry to our audio listeners right now.
You just gotta.
You need to jump over to the stream and check out at this time in the podcast. Go look at the live stream comments too.
It's tough. It's tough.
All right, big buddy, chill.
Do you want to talk about Jimmy Butler trades?
I think that you guys should just go back and forth.
Well, see, that might be difficult to do. I don't know, but
Fine, show me the damn trade, Gerald. Okay, no, let me. I'm locking in. I'm done. Chad, I don't even see you. I'm covering you up right now.
hand up.
All right, we're gonna.
Hand down, man down.
You win.
Is that what the phrase
You all
is?
win. Oh man! Oh, look at that.
Notice how we haven't gotten a super chat from BComC clearly tonight.
I'm so done.
That's tough.
So done. All right, listen, chat. We're gonna try to do something serious. All right, we want to clip this, so I want to try to keep it serious. Okay.
All right.
The Phoenix Suns are struggling right now, and there seems like there's no hope. Is Jimmy Butler that hope? Well, we don't know if he'll fix anything, but Gerald found out a couple ways that he could get to the Suns.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and go with our first trade here with the Chicago Bulls one that we cooked up here. This is one we've talked about in the past. So Suns receive Jimmy Butler. The Heat receive Zach LaVine from the Bulls. And Bradley Beal goes to the Bulls along with the Suns' 2031 first-round pick. Now, there are the obvious caveats that Bradley Beal would have to waive his no-trade clause. We've heard no rumblings that he would do it for a place like Chicago, but Chicago is close to his hometown of St. Louis. The Bulls are coached by Billy Donovan, who was Bradley Beal's coach at Florida. They're obviously still very close. And this would give him a chance to be a number 1, number 2 option again on a team with no expectations, obviously. So there's that to consider. He does enjoy being in Phoenix. I know that for a fact. He does enjoy having his family be able to plant roots somewhere. But I feel like we're getting close to the point where he would consider waiving that, especially even before the benching. Like with the benching, it feels pretty clear the Suns are kind of trying to nudge him, be like, hey, have you thought about life somewhere else where you could be a starter again? Do the Heat want Zach LaVine and the money that he still has on his contract? I don't know, but he's a younger version of Beal. He's a better version of Beal.
He's a better fit for them, like position. Like I know he still plays like shooting guard, but he slides over to the 3 a lot more easily than Beal would, and playing him next to Hero seems more feasible. And has the physical attributes for Heat culture. Are you pressing the yes button on that trade, Steven?
I mean, from a Suns perspective, absolutely.
What about from a Chicago? You're a Chicago guy. What about from a Chicago perspective?
I'm a Chicago Bulls guy, though.
I know you're not a Chicago Bulls guy.
Just so
But you're a
He's like,
Chicago guy.
I lived in the city.
Just because I lived in the city.
You tell me you don't know Bulls basketball.
I know about the Bulls.
So if you were in the Bulls front office, would you do this trade?
I would not do this.
I see you over there with the foam finger. Number 1 Chicago Bulls fan.
Anyways, keep your hands to yourself over there.
Oh, we got
But
Steven to make a joke.
But anyways, you
I'm messing around.
But no, I don't. If I was a Bulls executive, I wouldn't do it. But I guess maybe they need to see. For me, with the Bulls in particular, with Zach LaVine, he should have been traded 2 seasons ago, if I'm being completely honest.
Yes. And
his value has depreciated over time. If this is the best offer that they can get as they scour for other things, then I would press it if I'm, again, speaking from a Bulls perspective. But just looking at what they could have had over the years, this just seems so low compared to those things.
Yeah.
And honestly, it kind of feels low because Zach LaVine has had a good season.
Yeah, he's been an all-star caliber guard this season.
Right. So it feels like he's played his way to above maybe, especially if you're saddling them with Bradley Beal's contract. Like 1 first-round pick doesn't feel like it's going to be enough for me from Chicago's point of view. And again, as good as Zach LaVine has been, and I think it makes the Heat younger and while also keeping them competitive so they can keep those 2 first-round picks that are potentially at stake if they miss the playoffs this season. I don't know if they want to take on more long-term salary if they're getting rid of Jimmy Butler. So I feel like Zach LaVine has played well enough to warrant a look if you're a team like Miami. I don't know that you're going to get a better player in a Jimmy Butler deal, but I do know like they want to take on expiring contracts. They want to take on draft picks. They want to take on maybe a win now piece. Zach LaVine only checks 1 of those boxes.
And I'll say this too, to the Bulls point, and I had to take a deep breath before I say this.
That's fair.
They traded Alex Caruso to a team with the most draft picks,
Yeah.
and they're a litany of prospects.
Mm-hmm.
Prospects that are telling you that you can be a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Prospects that are saying that I can be a piece in time if you invest in me internally. And they got none of which from them.
Yep.
Just Josh Giddey. So if ever there was a team to finesse,
It would be your favorite team.
It would be Chicago.
Gerald, you cooked up another trade. What does your other trade say?
Yeah, let's take a look at this Nets trade real quick. So
crazy.
we got Jimmy Butler going to the Suns and Josh Richardson coming to the Suns. There is a loophole here to make the math work, where sending Josh Richardson as a vet minimum allows this math to work on the Heat side of things. The Heat would be getting Cam Johnson, Bojan Bogdanovic, who I believe is an expiring contract, and DeAnthony Melton, who's injured, and I think he's out for the year if I remember correctly, but he's a good player. And then the Nets would get Bradley Beal. They would get Haywood Highsmith from the Heat. They would get 2 Suns second-round picks, and they would get 1 Heat second-round pick. Let me just double-check and make sure that I got that right on the picks there. Yeah. So that's the deal. Or I guess the Nets would get that 2031 first-round pick from the Suns.
Yeah. You have 2 Suns
Yes.
second round, Suns 2031 first round, 1 second rounder from the Heat, Beal and Highsmith. Again, I would do it. Yeah, and you get Josh Richardson, who actually could maybe play for you.
Oh, not even a maybe. He could definitely play for
I
this
just
team,
don't.
yeah.
I just don't see why. I think Brooklyn's going to want more in draft compensation for a guy like Cam Johnson, unless they have another deal lined up to get Bradley Beal off their books for like a heavily protected first, second round pick, which I don't think is possible. So I don't know. I don't know why Brooklyn does that trade, but for Miami and for Phoenix, Steven, I'd say it's an easy yes.
Yeah, for Miami, yes. For Phoenix, obviously. For Brooklyn, I wonder what else they might be able to get in return for Cam Johnson.
Yes.
If the market says that someone else is willing to give something else, then that just naturally puts an axe to everything that the Suns and Heat are trying to work around because they can't work with one another for cap reasons.
Right.
So I guess it would be dependent on that for me. But if they said yes to this, I think it sets them up decently because they've publicly said they want picks for any players that they're giving up. They got that with Mikal, and they've been looking to try to do that with Cam Johnson, just trying to scour it and see what makes the most sense.
Aside from the no trade clause with Bradley Beal, which applies to every one of these trades, like would he waive it to go to Brooklyn? I can't say for sure.
Right.
Obviously living in New York is cool, but is it for Bradley Beal and his family? I don't know. But the biggest note aside from that is that enough for Cam Johnson? Because like you said, if they're shopping Cam Johnson, they're probably gunning for 1, maybe 2 first-round picks.
I feel
this
like they
only
might be
gets
gunning
them 1.
for 2 to 3.
They might.
They
Because
might be able to get it.
Cam has had a great year.
Yep.
They would also be giving up DeAnthony Melton, who is a player that, even though he's injured, has been very good when he's been on the court. And this trade, just so everyone knows, could not go down until February 5th or February 6th because DeAnthony Melton was recently traded. He can't be aggregated with players until February 5th. So you would have to wait until the buzzer on this one. But 1 first-round pick from the Suns, even if you threw all your second-round picks in there as well, is that enough for Brooklyn to trade Cam Johnson and Melton in the same deal?
And Brooklyn's like the anti-Chicago, where they're not leaving without picks.
Yes.
Right? Like them
I
and
think they
OKC.
learned their lesson.
Yeah, if they're making a trade,
Yeah.
they're taking as many picks as possible. It's why they took all of the Suns' first-round picks along with Mikal and Cam for Kevin Durant. Like they're very good at negotiating those type of things. Let me negotiate with our TV
One more
viewers
thing.
real
Oh, yeah,
quick
go.
because I want to remind you guys the party always continues over at GoPHNX.com. Gerald's article with all of the Jimmy Butler trades will be up there. You can learn how to become a diehard there. All of our shows are living there as well. Go PHNX.com if you are watching on TV. We do appreciate you joining the madness that way, but there's so much more that you can tap into over at GoPHNX.com. What were you saying, Steven?
To the February, was it 6th, you said, for Melton?
February 5th, and then the trade
and then the
deadline is
deadline is
obviously on
6th.
the 6th.
It might take the last-minute buzzer-beating kind of last-ditch effort with the Cam Johnson trade if that happens, because
Yeah.
they will have had to have exhausted all possibilities and feel like that was the one that set them best up for long-term success, which they're trying to build to.
Yeah, and truthfully, it might come down to that for the Suns to get a Jimmy Butler trade pulled off. And I agree. Wow Factor is saying don't use all the picks on this deal on the Nets. I get it. I'm just saying from a perspective of what would Brooklyn want. They would probably want more than just one first-round pick for their involvement with Cam Johnson there. So, and someone else asked, can the Suns take back 2 players? Yes, they can take back as many players as allowed. They just can't send out multiple players as part of the deal as a second tax apron team.
Gerald, you were so generous and kind to share a third trade that you cooked up.
Yes.
What would that be?
So let's take a look at this last one. This one is admittedly a little bit bonkers. The Suns would get Jimmy Butler and Alex Len from the Kings. I love that Noah chose this epic Alex Len photo for the cover photo of this. Tremendous work, Noah. The Heat would get De'Aaron Fox, Trey Lyles, and Jordan McLaughlin, who would be sent as a vet minimum. And then the Kings would get Bradley Beal, Nikola Jovic from the Heat, the Suns' 2031 first-round pick, and 2 future first-round picks from the Miami Heat. Again, my biggest thing is going to be Bradley Beal. I don't know why he waives his no-trade clause to go to Sacramento. That just doesn't sound like something he would do. I don't know that for sure. And also his 3 first-round picks and Nikola Jovic enough for the Kings to get rid of De'Aaron Fox. Things would have to really tank in the next month. And we're keeping an eye on that situation. Don't get me wrong, because like De'Aaron Fox does not seem happy in Sacramento, but over the next month, he would kind of have to force his way out. And I still don't know if 3 first-rounders and Nikola Jovic is enough value for them.
In a different manner, but very, very similar context, De'Aaron Fox did not sign his extension with the Sacramento Kings, not unlike Jimmy Butler didn't with the Miami Heat.
That is true.
Now, obviously, with the Kings, it was De'Aaron Fox's decision because he said they needed to prove to him that they were setting themselves up for success for him to sign and ink his name to a deal that extends past this season.
Right.
And for Jimmy, it was the Heat saying that we're not ready to do this yet. But it's still the same thing. If you have a disconnect there with the franchise and the franchise player, and he decides that he wants to go elsewhere, that could be enough to sway things. And I can speak for all of my Miami Heat reporter mutuals and fan mutuals that they would love to see a point guard the caliber of De'Aaron Fox because the Heat have not had a point guard like that since Tim Hardaway
Mario
Jr.
Chalmers. I'm kidding.
I mean, you said Mario Chalmers. I went way fast.
I'm kidding. Definitely not Mario Chalmers, Kansas legend. I would do that deal in a heartbeat. I honestly, unironically, I think Alex Len would be a massive upgrade at center for the Suns. I don't even think he's that good. I need anybody. And people are saying Alex Len is a bum. I don't care.
Alex Len is just a throw-in to make the math work.
I don't
Alex
care.
Len is
I want Alex Len. That's where I am at this point. Like, clip it. I want Alex Len on the Phoenix Suns. Okay?
Do not clip this.
The Phoenix Suns lost to the Charlotte Hornets by double digits on January 7th, 2025. And I'm here begging for my favorite team to trade for Alex Len, one of the biggest busts in their draft history. Do you think we're okay?
It's tough.
Are things okay?
They're not okay.
They're not okay.
But you could just waive Alex Len and then make a separate trade for Nick Richards. Alex Len is Alex Len is a throw-in in this deal just to make the math work.
If we have Alex Len on the roster, we're waiving a center. It's not Alex Len.
Who are you waiving?
Mason Plumlee.
Okay.
Because you can't waive Yusuf Nurkic.
Yeah.
Espo says, quote, Alex Len is a bum, end quote. Sounds like he'd fit right in.
That's brutal.
So the thing, if this team had Jimmy Butler and a center rotation of Nick Richards and Alex Len, we're winning it all. We're winning it all,
bro.
I don't care. We're winning it all.
Winning it all in Alex Len's name in the same conversation in 2025, dog.
Alex Len could be a solid backup in this league, and we don't even have a solid starter.
Yeah, I can't
Obviously,
argue
I'm
with
coping, guys.
No,
Obviously.
we're all
What was
coping
that
right
you just
now.
said about the Game of Thrones and the man with the sword? And
That's me with Alex Len.
That's literally
That's
you
you
by
with Len.
yourself right
I just need
now.
somebody who will look at the rim and dunk.
Yeah, that would be nice. But again, this is just the teaser for tomorrow's article. I've got 7 different teams for 3-team trades, and I've got multiple trades per team. So that's going to go up at gophnx.com tomorrow morning. So make sure to check that out. Hopefully this will tide you over until then.
Yeah, no show tomorrow, so make sure you spend all day staring at Gerald's article and just telling yourself, how did we get here? But don't worry, even though we're here together. All of us, the PHNX Suns community, through thick and thin, even when we want to pull our hair out. We appreciate all of you hitting that like button, being here, and subscribing. We will be back for the Atlanta Hawks game, pregame, postgame show for probably what will be such an exciting installment of Suns basketball that will reinstate everybody's faith in this team. You can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. Read all of his fantastic work at GoPHNX.com. You can follow Steven at StevenPG3. You can also read his fantastic work at GoPHNX.com. Plus, if you're looking for something good, he did like a 15-minute breakdown on how Ryan Dunn changes so much for the Phoenix Suns. And happy birthday, Ryan Dunn. I've had to avoid talking about you today for obvious reasons. The restraining order just came in. Oh, and speaking of restraining order, we have 2 super chats from Calm C
Let's
Clearly.
go.
I'm just gonna censor these. $2 super chat from Calm C Clearly says, Devin Booker is all I think about. Thanks for the $2 super chat, Calm C Clearly. And another $2 super chat that asks, would Devin Booker let me smell him? No, he would not. Calm C Clearly.
That's nuts.
Continuing the outro, because I totally forgot we had Calm C Clearly super chats. Thank you. Noah, behind the Mac, making all the magic happen. We appreciate him. And you can follow me at ERIKRUBY. And I'll send us off tonight because I'm now getting texts from my wife saying, why is the entire comment section talking about your hand? They're talking about you jerking it? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Wish me luck. See y'all in 2 days.
We all silly like the mayor.